is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, we're live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and at Running Aces off 35, just on the north edge of the Twin Cities. And a bunch of Vikings fans and Purple Daily listeners are hanging out with us here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We got the sports dad, Judd Zolgad. I'm Phil Mackey. We have our mustached producer, Declan Goff, here. And we also have football starting, actual NFL football, in less than an hour. So we're going to hang out here, talk some Vikings. We have a live open mic, so if anyone has any takes, any feedback Friday on a Thursday, if you have a write that down prediction, whatever it is, this microphone is open. We appreciate Running Aces for being our host tonight. This renovation is incredible. This is a 53-foot continuous LED screen with all sorts of sporting events on, including us.
Yeah,
We're
it's
on screen over
very
here.
frightening to see us that big.
Yeah.
I will say this. One of my dream jobs is to be in charge of every TV like that.
Yeah.
Like I've always said this.
Yeah.
I should be hired a nighttime job as a television sports consultant because I'll know where every game is.
Like at a bar, like at a sports book?
At a bar. I used to think a bar.
This would be the big leagues of that job.
But this would be the job, right?
We'd have to start you off at a smaller sports bar just to make sure you know what you're doing.
You know what?
What's the rookie ball affiliate of that?
See, here's where you're missing it. I'd come
Call
in
your couch.
right away. Yeah, I'd come in right away, and I'd be calling shots about what to put on. You got to be aware of your time zones too, right? You got to go East Coast, Midwest games, sprinkle those in, and then as soon as the West Coast games start, you got to start those. There's nothing worse than a bar that doesn't know or a sports book that doesn't know. I've been to Vegas and found faulty sports books.
Yeah, I mean this is very well organized here. You've
I
got the
this.
main football game here that's going to start soon.
Right.
You've got there's like the kind of the racing, because we're live horse racing out here, harness racing.
A given.
And then I think there was some tennis because there's not like a ton of football on tonight.
Right.
I told you it was probably 10 years ago, and my wife and I were out in Denver, and we ventured out kind of toward, I don't know, we went out west by like Red Rocks Amphitheater, and there was a couple little small bars as you're driving through, and we got hungry, and it was a Sunday. I think it was a Vikings bye week. And we went to a sports bar on the fringes of Denver that had labels on every TV that said here at noon or whatever time it would be, not noon out there
it's
for games, but this game is going to be on this TV at this time. And then after that game is over, it's going to be this game.
Yep.
And there was somebody literally in charge of changing those channels. Highly organized operation.
That's awesome. That's exactly how when the game ends, bang.
Yeah.
You got to be on the next game.
I loved when I was in Hawaii for the honeymoon watching the Vikings beat the Falcons last year, and the 8 a.m. kickoff, and then the 3 p.m. Sunday night football game starting Hawaiian time. So then by 7 o'clock, your football is done, and you still have a few hours left, like in your evening. Oh, it was great.
Do you find yourself craving football then at like 7?
No,
I feel like it's too early.
No,
for
because
football
it's 8 a.m. So you wake up and you're in paradise. So it's not like a problem waking up early, and you start your day. And I loved it. I was all.
But what
for
if you
it.
drink too much on Saturday night?
Well, that would be a problem.
Okay,
that would be a problem.
Or you could just drink earlier and then go to bed at like 9 or
8 a.m.
a.m.
The West Coast. When you were in Seattle, I think you had the ideal start times.
It was 10 a.m., so the noon kickoffs were 10 a.m.
Yeah, 8 I don't think I could
And then
do.
the 1 p.m. was the late window. And then
5:30.
Bum, bum, ba, ba, bum, bum.
Yeah, 5:30, yeah.
Like
that would be
5.
kind of nice, 5.
Yeah, and you're
5:30.
kind of done by 9.
That's true.
But anyway.
Yeah. And we have an injury report, by the way. So
yeah, there's one thing to talk about off this, too.
There is kind of. I don't know. I feel kind of.
I'll explain it. Sports Dad's got this. Sports Dad's got this.
So, yeah, the Vikings. So today is the first day of the season, including training camp, where they have to tell you what the injuries are, and then designate: did they practice? Did they not?
Yep.
Were they limited in practice?
Right.
And then they'll have one tomorrow and then one on Saturday.
And Saturday they'll make the declarations.
Like doubtful, questionable,
Yep.
et cetera, right?
Correct.
So this one, we'll start with Christian Darrisaw, I think is the headline on this.
Mm-hmm.
Did not practice today.
Right.
Xavier Scott, who's the third running back, ankle, didn't practice.
That's okay.
Harrison Smith, illness, didn't practice.
Yeah, that's a personal
And
thing.
then Elijah Williams, who was a Mr. Mankato candidate there,
Yep.
hamstring, didn't practice. Jalen Naylor, hand, full participant.
Good news.
Andrew Van Ginkel, it's a neck injury, we found out.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I don't like that.
But
No.
it's full participant.
That's good, but Declan's right. Hate to hear
it's
neck.
neck.
Neck or back, I do not like at all.
Well-
My years of experience
Yeah.
in the medical world of football, I don't like necks.
Well, what's funny is he had the Liz Frank issue before
I
coming
hate
to the
those.
Vikings, right? So it was which is like in your foot, toe, heel.
It's a foot
It's a
problem.
foot, yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
So now we have a neck problem with him. What the hell happened?
Yeah, but he was a full participant.
Well, he played
so
football and got hurt.
How nervous should we be that Christian Darrisaw did not practice?
All right, so here's my guess.
'Cause I'm worried.
Okay, first of all, it's a wonky schedule. So they actually practiced on Wednesday, but they didn't have to have an injury report. And according to everyone,
Okay.
Christian Darrisaw took all the snaps. And so then today, and this is pretty consistent with training camp, I don't think they were going to have him run through 2 consecutive days of full practices.
You're not making me less nervous about his availability.
Well,
on
but what I'm
Monday
saying,
night.
well, first
I
of
don't
all,
like this at all.
okay, well, first of
He
all,
can't practice back-to-back days with 5 days to go until the first.
First
game.
of all, it's not a given he will play, but second of all, I think that this is the ramp-up attempt with him. The other thing is, I can safely tell you from things that I heard in training camp that Kevin O'Connell not above playing some games as well with the Bears as far as who's going to play.
Okay.
Now
So
I'm not
the-
saying it's
the-
driving this, but I'm saying I don't think he minds the fact that the Bears right now, sitting at their Bears table, are having the same discussion that we are, which is he going to play? O'Connell has been pretty obsessed, as far as I could tell, with Jalen Johnson's status for the Bears.
Okay.
Like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, he was trying to find out if Jalen Johnson was going to play. And the
That's
Bears,
a defensive back with a calf /
Yes.
groin issue. Is that all one connected injury?
I hope
or
not.
Are those two separate? It says calf / groin. He was limited in practice, so apparently his whole lower body is just in peril right now.
And evidently, the Bears hadn't given out much information about that, and O'Connell was like miffed because he was trying to find out. But anyway, long story short, I'm not surprised Darrisaw did not practice. To me, the most important thing is how much does he practice on Saturday? Because if I'm not mistaken, they've got sort of a weird day off on Friday. So now they're going to practice on Saturday. If he goes through the entire practice on Saturday, my guess is he is listed as questionable no matter what. But I think he plays if he practices in full on Saturday.
But in terms of this being like a mind game with the Bears,
no.
Are you saying that Kevin O'Connell is trying to get the Bears to spend like 5 extra hours preparing for Justin School to be the starting left tackle?
I'm saying it's a byproduct of the ramp up. I think that they were going to have Darrisaw practice in full on Wednesday, take Thursday off, because to play his position, you don't need to go through. I mean, we're now in game week, and those practices work on certain things. But Christian Darrisaw has done this before.
Yeah.
I don't think O'Connell minds the fact, though, that the Bears are going to be like, I wonder if Christian Darrisaw will play or not. It's just all games. But at the end of the day, I think Darrisaw, unless there's a setback, I think he plays.
So Saturday will be the last practice, correct?
Correct.
So, but doesn't he have to be at least a limited participant? Like if he's a no practice, and
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
he's officially out.
Well, he wouldn't
So-
be.
No.
You can not practice all week and still play.
Yeah.
But it would be a red flag if he didn't practice. Like I don't think he's going to not practice and then play.
I'm going with.
That's why it's a red flag to me
Yeah,
that he didn't practice.
I don't like
today.
this at all.
I'm going with wait till Saturday. My guess is he is. I think we eliminated probable because it was so stupid from the injury report.
Okay.
So now it's questionable, doubtful, or out.
Oh, so
and
wait. Probable is no longer a designation.
it's been out for like 4 years.
Yeah, they got rid of that about 4 or 5 years
because
ago.
the assumption is, no bleep, you're going to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my guess is he's questionable. But I also think they've been very, how can I use a sports term word, intentional about how they've done things with Darrisaw. I think this is more of the intentionality that Kevin O'Connell is
Okay,
putting into this.
Kwesi. Easy.
We're very
Kwesi.
intentional at the Vikings, okay?
It is funny
Intentionality.
It is funny they like had probable for so long because I think probable was like, well, then what are we even doing? Here?
Correct.
It's if I said I'm probable for something to my wife, she'd be like, just tell me you're in or you're out. Because
Right.
if I say questionable, this is fine. Like we don't know. We don't know which
That
one
sounds
you're
like a
going to
curb.
be. It is.
That sounds
it's
like a curb
100%
right there.
a curb situation.
Can you go
100%
out
is.
on Friday? Probable.
Probable.
Yeah, you should have to designate. It's like an injury designation for social events,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Not a bad
ooh,
idea.
the family Thanksgiving gathering, doubtful to probable.
Doubtful.
Somewhere between
I'm questionable.
those three.
I might stay home.
Yeah. How do you? I've seen this. There's a nugget kind of floating around. Not even nugget. It's a fact that's been floating around that like Bears fans love to latch on to this. The offenses over the past couple years have scored like 120 some points in 4 games off of Brian Flores' defense.
Yep.
Do you put any stock into that with Ben Johnson, new team, versus? I mean, it's his system,
right?
But it's a little different when it's the Lions running your system versus the Bears. How much stock do you put into this narrative that I've seen a lot the last 2 days? Ben Johnson owns Brian Flores.
Well, first of all, I think it's really an interesting discussion because I also think we need to talk about the time of the season that Brian Flores faces teams. So there's a reason why I think in week 18 of last season and then in the first playoff game against the Rams, those teams had success.
Yeah.
And it's because you watch so much film. And to go back to a conversation that I think we actually had during another Unplugged in the springtime, you know, Sean McVay, part of the reason why the Rams lost that last game of the regular season was McVay blew it off and said, we're going to spend 2 weeks preparing for the Vikings. So Ben Johnson, in his first game as Chicago coach, in the first game when there's going to be unscouted looks left and right, I think that mitigates the ability of him to say, I know what Brian Flores is going to do. Here's another thing, though, that no one's talking about that I think is incredibly important.
Sing it.
Ben Johnson has never been a head coach for a National Football League game in his life.
Yeah. There's a lot of logistical things that are just, okay, timeout management, game flow, all the different things you could train wreck in the last 4 minutes of a half.
If you decide, bleep it, I'm going to go talk to Caleb Williams right now on the bench and turn your back, and I've seen this done, and it's a terrible idea. Turn your back to the action. No one is coaching the team at that point. So
the plane is flying itself.
It's true, but I mean, I've seen
Bears,
this.
So.
Like, you can go back there with the tablet and you can talk to him, but you are essentially no longer having a head coach.
Yeah, and I don't know if this goes for Ben Johnson, but our buddy Warren Sharp, he came out with us earlier this summer to talk about the Viking season last year. What are things that maybe you should be looking for this year? So the Vikings defense last season allowed up opening drive scores in just 3 of 17 games, which was the second best figure in the NFL. And that defense helped the Vikings to a 26-4 record when made favorites under KOC, which was number 1 in the NFL.
Wow.
Conversely, the Bears offense last year scored on just 2 of 17 opening drives, which was the worst mark and worst efficiency in the entire NFL. Plus, the Bears allowed 4.9 sacks per turnovers per game last year. Meanwhile, the Vikings averaged 4.8 sacks per takeaway. So, like, a fast start. I think we're going to see it probably pretty right away. If the Vikings are able to sack Caleb Williams, or if the opposite, obviously, if the Bears march down with ease, I think Phil's question is right that Ben Johnson probably does have a little bit of Brian Flores' number.
Yeah.
Maybe. I just think it's I think there's so many things here and question marks on both sides that I don't know, because you can't apply in some ways, right? I mean, Jared Goff, who Phil's been on the Goff bandwagon forever now.
That's a great name.
I'm always ahead of the curve on things. People laugh.
Except when you're not.
People laugh.
Except when you're not, and then you're not. But anyway, Jared Goff has turned into a really good, effective. I mean, that guy came in to this stadium. The Vikings took a lead. The Vikings looked early in that game against Detroit here like they were going to run away with that game. And the Lions sort of, and Goff in particular, calmed things down, right? So, I don't know. Could the Bears come out hot and score a touchdown and it's not going to be a disaster? Absolutely. I think there's also a real question here about Caleb Williams. You can sort of hold against him some of the stuff that we know, and J.J. McCarthy what we don't know. And I think in some ways you might have a game, at least in this case, where you're literally hoping that the guy, or you want your guy to manage the game the best. Right? Like, manage the game the best.
Don't screw it up the best? Is that another way to phrase that?
And you're going to have to make some throws, but, you know, at the end of the day, if you go into Chicago, and I think we talked about this on PD this morning, you run the bleep out of the ball, you complete a few big passes, and you win, take your pick, 21-17.
Yeah.
we're not going to get on the show and be like, well, I'll tell you what, we expected the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's like defense, people in national media especially, has lost sight of the plot. It is flashy that Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy are playing against each other in week 1 with Ben Johnson. So it's this clash of young quarterbacks, 2 top 10 draft picks, offensive masterminds, and that's the thing that everyone's talking about. And there are a lot of people now. I mean, Get Up spent a segment this morning on that game. It is an ESPN game. But at no point, other than maybe a passing mention, did they touch on the real reason why, like the number one reason why the Vikings could win the division or get to 11 or 12 wins and make noise. It's the defense. And I just feel like first-year system, first-year head coach, first-game head coach against a quarterback that was awful trying to play on schedule last year and took the most sacks in the league.
Yep.
I'll take Brian Flores' fully formed defense with 2 new interior pass rushers over whatever the Bears are going to try and do on Monday night.
Yep, I agree completely. And I also think that's...
Ooh, we had a close one there on the harness race right there.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Look at that 3/4 track split, too, man.
Let's see.
129.1. What would the RAS score be for the... Look at that.
Well, those horses have big-time RAS.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not getting near that horse.
RAS and Riz.
That's right. I forgot that Declan's deathly afraid of horses.
Yeah, they
here.
scare the bleep out of me.
You know what, Declan? It'd be nice if you would go out there and get on a horse.
What if we had, not on the horse, but what if we had you just in one of the harnesses kind of behind the horse?
I think I am more interested in that harness than I am riding the horse.
I mean, you're going to get mud kicked up today,
well,
probably.
You know what? No, because those back legs are going to still kill me. I know.
Well, and here's the thing,
He's
too.
like off center.
That guy's good, so he makes it look simple.
Easy. Yeah, I would be.
If you got on there, my guess is you tumble right off the back.
Yep.
No offense. I just think you probably would.
That's what would happen. I don't want that to happen to me.
Ugh. Anyways, Vikings defense.
Vikings defense. So to go back to that, I'm with you, first of all. And, again, this is where I'm curious, too. Like, we're going to get our first look at an interior and offensive, too, but that's completely revamped. That's going to have depth now, right? Like, if I was to go through the defense and say, okay, what am I confident in and what might scare me a little bit? The defensive line, I'm confident in and I'm excited. The linebackers, I actually am excited. I think Eric Wilson is going to play a sneaky role on passing downs. I think he's going to play. He's a great special teams player, but if you look at his statistics or his advanced analytics against the pass, he's pretty good, and, of course, Pace is not. So I would not be surprised there. And, like, the only thing that really, I guess, scares me a little bit is the cornerbacks. Now, if Harrison Smith doesn't play, and I would say he's tracking not to play, it's going to be interesting because you're going to get Metellus, I think, playing a deep safety. You're going to get, obviously, my guy Theo Jackson. And then does so here's the question. Jay Ward fill the Metellus role, or does Jay Ward fill the Harrison Smith role? And it might not be ideal, but, again, if you dial up the pressure, that's going to cause Caleb some problems.
Yeah. We're going to make this mic live here. I want Jason Harmon from Before I Die, Twitter Vikings superstar over here. I want to throw, because you're going to be at the game on Monday, so we have a few questions for our guy Jason.
Do you guys,
anybody else who wants to jump here too?
Did you guys know Jason named his first son Case?
Yeah. And that's not coincidence, right?
Come
on up here.
And the second son Kirk?
That wasn't a coincidence, correct?
It is.
First live show appearance, I couldn't even find the mic. So.
Well, now you know where it is and how to use it. You can find Jason on Before I Die with Leighton, who's in the house here somewhere. I saw Leighton in a booth.
I think he's at the tables currently.
Or he's at the tables
right
now. Yeah, Leighton's a regular at Running Aces, which is
he was explaining my first time. He was explaining it to me, and apparently he's an expert. So
yeah. By the way, give it up for Jason. He moved from Arizona to live in Minnesota. He's such a big Vikings fan. That's right. That is literally the reason why your family moved here, by the way.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, did you name your child after Case Keenum?
Yes. So I had made a guarantee. It's important. It's important context. So this was 2022.
How'd your wife take this?
A magical season, and the Vikings actually flew us out for the playoff game that year. And I made a promise on the news that if we won the Super Bowl, which was in Arizona, if you guys remember, that I would name my son either Kirk or Justin. kind of in hindsight, I'm glad my son is not named Kirk for many reasons.
It doesn't age as well as
But
Case.
we lost, and my wife's like, hey, no Vikings names. And she came up with the name Casey, and I was like, hey, can we nickname him Case? She's like, yeah. And I was like, bingo. And she didn't realize why, and then she remembered when I took her to the museum in Eagan, because she wasn't a Vikings fan until she met me, the Case Keenum story, and it was too late for her then. Yeah. It was already
so you kind of like tricked her almost.
Bait and
into...
switch.
She tricked herself, and I just went with it. So
she fell right into the trap is what happened.
She set the trap and fell into it all on her own.
Okay, if the Vikings win the Super Bowl this year, and you have a second child.
We already have a second child. Keep up, Phil.
Oh, sorry. You have 2 children.
Yes.
Okay. If you have a third,
What's the second child's name?
Grace, which is, I know it rhymes, but we picked that out before we had a son. It's a family name.
Yeah.
So now we're just kind of stuck with it. Just both kids having basically the same name almost. So.
Are there any players on the team that you would consider naming your future third child after? Is my question.
In case my wife is watching, no. For purposes of my own, I think AVG might maybe not Van Ginkel would be a terrible first name, but Andrew, just Drew, keep it subtle.
Ginkel Harmon.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. That sounds good.
It could be like part of a middle name too.
Yeah.
You know, like Gangster or
something Van Ginkel Harmon. I don't know if that has the right flow to it, but
you couldn't go wrong if they win a Super Bowl though. You could not go wrong with JJ. Because you got Justin Jefferson and J.J. McCarthy.
And my wife's name starts with a J as well.
And you,
so
you're right there.
Together, we are
It's for
JJ.
you, honey. It's for you. We're doing this for you.
Have you been to Soldier Field before?
I have not. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard some people say it's basically Philly, and some people say it's like the nicest stadium, like as far as welcoming crowd they've been to. I've heard half and half, but I have a lot of good friends in the Bears community from Twitter, so I'm expecting them to be super welcoming. I'm going to the tailgate, so that'll be nice.
Okay, so I don't know what half told you that it's a welcoming community, but they lied. Especially for a Monday night game, because they'll be in that parking lot by 1 o'clock, and they will be liquored up. So,
great.
You might want to. I've always advised people to wear Viking gear sparingly for games like in Chicago, Philadelphia, New York's.
Yeah.
Like
even Jets fans, are they?
There's no fans
physical?
in New York. Why would you have to be careful?
Giants and Jets fans who
Giants.
go.
I feel like Giants fans get kind of aggro.
Jets fans who go are brutal.
Yeah. They're like taking out their own 40 years of angst on other fan bases.
Yeah, but if it's your head,
it doesn't matter what the source of angst is.
But I've always I would advise. I'm not saying Chicago. I'm not saying it's a complete free for all. But first of all, when it starts with a primetime game, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because the prime
people
time,
have been drinking since the morning.
Yeah. And Bears fans are, I would call them aggressive.
So head on a swivel is what Judd is telling you, Jason.
Head on a swivel. Well, I mean, I'm just telling you, maybe tone down the Vikings gear just a little bit. You know what?
It's before I die, not before I go to Soldier Field safely. So we're going to go and we're just going to let what happens happen. As long as we get a win, we're good.
We don't want we don't want an unfortunate incident to cause your demise before the 2025 or 2026 Super Bowl.
We before we say goodbye, we did make our predictions officially this week we made the whole all 14 playoff teams. Vikings record. And how far do you think they go this season?
Well, it's funny because we did this on our Tuesday episode, and I also had 11-6.
Yeah.
I think they're going to start 5-0. I think that middle of the season, or mainly October gauntlet's going to be pretty rough. But I have no reason to believe they can't make it to the Super Bowl. Now, it depends on who they match up against. I've seen a few people project the Ravens. I think that Ravens game, is that late October or November?
It's it's part of that. They hit that bye week after they start 5-0.
I think it's
and then it's like
late
7
October.
Brutal games out of 8, and then the Bears are the other one in there.
I think that is the toughest matchup personnel-wise the Vikings will have this year. I think having Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry is the top duo to go against such an effective defensive line and pass rush and linebacker core.
Yeah.
I think if that is the Super Bowl matchup, I think whoever wins the regular season game loses in the Super Bowl.
So you want them to get beat by the Ravens in the regular season?
Correct. However, I believe that it's still true. When the Vikings play the Ravens, if they beat the Ravens, it's guaranteed so far they make the NFC Championship game at minimum.
Yeah,
it is.
So we might have to beat the Ravens and just get as far as we can and see what happens.
That's the crazy thing about. So it started with a listener sent the AFC North information of whenever they play the AFC North, which was 98, 2001, and then every 4 years, 05, 09, you either, if you're the Vikings, fire the coach or go to the NFC Championship game with no in between. But further sleuthing suggests if you hone in on the Ravens result specifically, when they beat the Ravens, it's NFC Championship game.
Yep.
When they lose, that's incredible.
The Ravens game in particular, though, is exactly why you made the majority of the moves that you made in March and the trade for Mason was made for a game just like that. Because if you can't stop the Ravens with what you've got now, that's an issue.
This is like when Greg Maddux purposefully gave up a home run to Jeff Bagwell in a meaningless regular season game, just so when he faces him again in the Super Bowl, he knows to throw a completely different pitch, and you're not going to be able to expect it.
Because I'm going to throw him 3 months later, a similar count, similar situation, and he's going to think it's the same pitch.
Thing.
But I've got him.
Bang.
That's the Super Bowl.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got high hopes. I'm a big believer in McCarthy. I think Monday, everybody on Twitter, I'm sure you guys may have experienced this, either, doom or gloom, one way or the other. I think it's going to be a pretty pedestrian stat line. I'm guessing 210, a touchdown. If we can get out with no turnovers, I think we're good.
Yeah.
But don't expect too much. Unless Jalen Johnson's out, then things might get kind of spicy. Who knows?
And he might be.
I expect maybe 200 yards.
The most important thing in that stat line is going to have a lot less to do with McCarthy and a lot more to do with O'Connell, and it's going to be pass rate.
100%.
That's
RPR.
If O'Connell goes away from that at all, we got a problem. Like, there's a discussion.
Yeah. I think Jordan Mason could score. I think he'll score the first rushing TD of the season. I think Aaron Jones, you saw multiple times last year, he'd have these breakaway runs and get brought down right before the end zone, and he couldn't pound it in. I think that's also specifically why you got Jordan Mason finish the job in the red zone, and I think we're going to see that Monday night.
But I the line of thinking have a run, and that's what they did at Michigan with J.J. McCarthy, that he's never been unleashed, and at some point you'll get there. I also think that's like the angel on Kevin O'Connell's shoulder saying, hey, okay, just manage the game, lean into the running game, the defense, ball control, etc., limit chances for mistakes. But the devil on his shoulder, which has won out play calling wise for 3 years, even with like backup quarterbacks with Sam Darnold. They ran the ball more, kind of. Sam Darnold still threw a ton of passes last year.
Yep.
I think once he gets into his play calling bag after the first 15 scripted plays, I think there's a chance he could, if things start well, you could see 35 passes from J.J. McCarthy.
Can I add in a bold prediction? Because you actually just inspired me.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dex, if it's too late to add this to write this down or even how that would work, but
we can make it official.
I'm going to add in J.J. McCarthy's first touchdown pass will be 40-plus yards on play action.
Yeah. Listen, so my prediction was, because Judd said, hey, we're going to run the ball in the first play, whatever.
Yeah.
I think the first play out of the gate is going to be a play action, 20 yards in the air or more, because the whole world thinks he's a handoff merchant. Of course, they're going to ease him in, insulate him. They're going to pound the run. If that's what the world thinks, then what should you do on your first play?
Air it out.
Fake handoff to Aaron Jones, drop back, find maybe Adam Thielen sitting 25 yards down the field.
I don't know if Thielen can get 25 yards.
How about T.J. Hockenson? T.J. Hockenson.
If this gets to be too much, there will be a conversation. I'll tell you that right now.
You're already bracing for this.
If
he throws more than 4 passes, Judd's going to be like, damn it.
Judd Zolg at Substack.com today, I did a piece on this exact thing, and you did not add this much to the run to have the coach get. This is a huge thing. We can talk about McCarthy, and that's great, but it's an enormous thing that he embraces the run as well. Yeah. I'm not saying don't pass. I'll give you the parallel, in my opinion, the ideal first 2 games. 2009 Favre. He came in. He was boring. Now they had Peterson. You don't have Peterson, but you do have a good run game. You've got an interior offensive line that hasn't been this good in forever, right?
Maybe since a run.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think if you get, he said at the time, and Brett I think with us, but we said he's managing the game. As O'Connell said at his, I think, season opening press conference, if you can't manage a game in this league, you're not going to win.
Imagine how much big a victory those first 2 games in 09 would have been if they would have cut Brett Favre loose. The games didn't have to be that. I don't remember what the final scores were.
Who was the second game that year? I know Cleveland.
Detroit.
Yeah.
It was at Cleveland, at Detroit, San Francisco here, and then we were off.
Yeah, the ending to that San Francisco game is what kind of unleashed everything for Favre and set things on course.
Because it kind of you're watching that game play out and thinking, maybe I don't know, he's not cooked, but maybe, and then all of a sudden, Favre rolls out to his right, Greg Lewis
gets the ball around there and just throws a missile.
Yeah, him kind of circling the ball around a defender,
right?
And
that's because his hands are huge.
Just palming that football.
Culpepper would have fumbled that ball instantly because
his little Burger King tiny
hands.
Yeah, my hands, man, are too small. Jason, thanks for coming up, man.
Before I die, we will be on Tuesday. We'll be recording while I'm in Chicago still, hopefully happy.
Nice.
Don't want to be miserable. But we will be recording Tuesday, and that episode will release later that day. So for your Vikings follow-up, turn into these guys, turn into Before I Die, and we'll see you guys this season.
Love it, man. Jason Harmon, Leighton,
Thank you,
Jesse
Jason.
Whole
Pierce.
Score North family.
Yeah. Before I Die, weekly on the Purple Daily YouTube and podcast feeds, wherever you find Purple Daily. And I think we already did the national anthem, so football is going to start soon.
We did.
We're still hang out here for another 15, 20 minutes with Purple Daily Unplugged. I want to bring some Vikings fear-mongering to you from ESPN.com.
Okay.
And you guys tell me if Bill Barnwell brings up as objectively as we can look at this, okay, is Bill onto something here?
Or is he on something?
With a reality check or on something.
Yeah.
So he says for 2025 out of the playoffs. He says they missed the playoffs. Vikings fans are sick of hearing about their record in one-score games, but when you go from 9-0 in 2022 to 4-8 in 23, and then back to 8-1 in one-score games last year, it's going to be a significant part of the conversation. He goes on to make two main points: that the Vikings record in one-score games is not sustainable, and it's going to come back crashing to earth, and I think it was a plus 12 turnover margin is also not sustainable, that they will not be able to force as many turnovers and prevent as many turnovers from happening. And those statistical, mathematical reasons are why the Vikings are going to miss the playoffs. Is he on to something or on something? That's a fun new segment, by the way. We should do that.
I do like that. So I agree that it's probably very unlikely for them to be undefeated or, go 8-1 again in the one-score game. That is true. It's almost impossible to replicate that or assume that you can replicate that. But going 4-8, that is a problem. So basically, could you go, 5-4? Can you not be completely awful in those one-score games? Yeah, I think there's going to be regression. It's just more of, can you not completely fall off the table? Can you go to the mean, not just regress all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum?
What is the mean? I'd love to ask Bill Barnwell, what is the mean? If they're going to regress to the mean, what is the mean?
Here's the thing I don't understand. I get the theory behind this, but one thing I don't get is, and Chip Scoggins and I talked about this today on Purple Access, this league is built on one-score games. Mm-hmm. So, one-score games are happening all the time.
Most of the spreads are one-score spreads.
Because it's what the league wants. And by the way, it can be great fun. I guess when you're saying, well, they're going to regress, okay, then you, what's your reasoning why? If they're a good team, it feels very arbitrary to just say year to year to year. And look, if you watched the Vikings in 2023, one of the reasons why they regressed was early on, fumble problems, and then Kirk got hurt. So I feel like this is if I'm assigned, if Sports Dad's assigned to write about all 32 teams, and I'm told, you find your trends, right? I'm going to say, well, that team won 9 one-score games. They're not going to do that again.
Is that all 32 teams.judd/substack.com?
Well, I would probably do that, yes. And then I'd have all these subscribers. It'd be great. I'd be rich. I could retire. Actually, I don't want to retire. But anyway, I find this to be a very convenient stat, and I get where it's coming from. But I also don't think it delves into the reality of this league is built on one-score games, and the good teams win one-score games.
Right. Okay, so to suggest that one-score game record is just blowing in the wind of luck.
Correct.
And, boy, you're so fortunate to have been over the 2 seasons where they won 13 and 14 games. I think it was a combined 17-1 in one-score games. Mm-hmm. That just as easily could have been 1-17 and you got lucky. No. Like you said, almost every spread across the NFL, pregame spreads of how many points is each team favored by, is a single score spread, 2 points, 2.5, 6.5 points, right? So if you are a well-coached, talented team and you are good up front and you have a good pass rush, those are things that lead to being good in close games.
Correct.
And also, Brian Flores' defense, there is a history of forcing a ton of turnovers because you're creating chaos and pressure.
Yes.
And quarterbacks making quicker decisions than they want to, which leads to mistakes. So, this is the problem with this line of thinking. The Vikings won 14 games last year, in part because maybe some of these areas were a little overinflated and they're going to come back to earth. And people are doing this with the Lions, too, who won 15 games.
Yep.
They're saying, okay, for these reasons, the Vikings are going to be a 14-win team, or the Lions are going to be a 15-win.
Sure.
And they're only shaving 6 wins off the total to 3.
Right.
Boy, maybe this comes back to earth a little bit, and that comes back to earth. Okay, maybe instead of 14 wins, it's 11.
Right.
They're skipping past 12, 11, 10, down to 7 or 8 wins and missing the playoffs. And that's my problem with the thinking.
I also think that there is a discussion to be had that this division is going to be so tough as well. I do think there's going to be, not the Bears, because I'm not convinced on them at all, but I think among the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings, I think one of those teams is going to miss the playoffs because this division, there are going to be teams that get their butts kicked on a weekly basis, not on the scoreboard, but physically. And someone's going to have injuries. I'm not buying that all 3 teams with schedules as tough as they are just going to make the playoffs. If you want to tell me that's why you think the Vikings are going to miss the playoffs, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
But do I think that they're going to come out again a fumbling, and by the way, that's on you, a fumbling, buffoon, penalty-filled team? No, I don't. So, I don't know. There are some things about trying to analyze the numbers and trends that make a lot of sense to me, but there's some things where I just feel like you've got 32 teams on your plate and you got to come up with a reason why.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
well,
in Bill's defense for us, we cover one team heavily, and that's a lot.
Yeah, and also, and we did this exercise on the show today. You're picking 7 playoff teams in an NFC with a lot of competitive teams.
Yep.
With the Eagles who won the Super Bowl, the Lions who have come close to winning a Super Bowl for a couple of years, the Packers who are good and added Micah Parsons. Someone has to win the NFC South. Someone's going to win the NFC West, and there's the Seahawks, right? So there's 4 or 5 teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, and so J.J. McCarthy has never done this before, so that's easy to write them off.
Yes.
Or they were 8-1 in one-score game. So let me flip the question this way. Is there, if they don't make the playoffs, all right, and let's leave some room for that. I know that the audience doesn't want to hear that, but let's say they don't make the playoffs. Is there any non-playoff making scenario that would leave you guys feeling good about the season and into next season? Or would it just be an abject failure, period, if the Vikings miss the playoffs?
It'd be a huge disappointment, and it's you don't want to crutch. Well, they had injuries, but I think in your line of questioning here, you're kind of saying they're mostly healthy. There might have been an injury near the end of the year, but
if you can't blame it on an injury,
if you can't blame it on an injury, what went wrong? And it was probably struggling mightily,
which would not make you feel good.
No,
probably.
Which would make you feel the worst.
And Max Brosmer comes into replacement at some point.
Yeah,
then.
But if you play well and wins 3 games, then you have a Brock Purdy situation. Good.
Yeah, but to play devil's advocate or to go on the Barnwell side, it's because you didn't close out games that you probably should have won. And if most games are already one-score games, and again, back to Warren Sharp, head coaches that have had cover rates against the spread for every active head coach. Kevin O'Connell has covered the spread at a higher rate than Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Pete Carroll, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay, Nick Sirianni, Kyle Shanahan. He is covering the spread in the majority of his games too. So I know what Barnwell is saying, but again, my bigger question is if it goes down, what does that average mean? And to answer your question, I think if McCarthy just looks like crap, that would make me feel pretty bad.
I think if they miss the playoffs, it is a massive failure, and I think it would start in their building with being upset about it. You don't do what they did in March and miss the playoffs and accept that. It'd be one thing if they had said J.J. McCarthy's going to start, and we are a team that we're good, but we're not going to make a lot of additions because our window starts in 2026, which, by the way, a year ago we talked about as being a possibility. But no, unless you get guys hurt left and right, which happens to 1 or 2 teams per year, if not more, But if you are healthy and you lose close games, and let's assume then that you're also you're not only not winning the turnover battle, you're losing it, and you have penalty problems, that is a massive disappointment. I mean, the Vikings have set themselves up that if they're not a playoff team, at least inside this state, I think there's going to be a lot of people who think it's a big failure.
But that's what's funny is, agreed, I agree. It's hard to find a scenario where they could miss the playoffs, feel like, oh, yeah, they missed the playoffs, but everything's great going into next year. But that's the local feeling. Nationally, it's almost expected that it's going to be a fight for them to get to the playoffs.
Yes.
This is one of the widest gaps going into a Viking season of what local fans feel. And there's always a gap, right? You always feel like the team you follow and are a fan of is like 2 or 3 wins better than the national projection in most cases. But this is one of the biggest, I think, gaps. And I keep going back to, listen, man, a year ago, this team had a 6.5 per under mark, and Sam Darnold was about to be the starting quarterback for 17 games. They won 14 games, and we're playing for the 1 seed in Week 18.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around 6 fewer wins, injuries not included, in 2025.
I think the only real disappointment, outside the playoffs, of course, because they're 0-2 with Kevin as a coach, but I think the only regular season disappointment in O'Connell's first 3 years was the Kirk healthy start in 2023. Because that team played some dumb football. And I mean, they lost fumbles. The great clip that Netflix had in quarterback, I think it was, of O'Connell yelling at the team from outside the locker room. They picked it up. It was really good. But
he was not happy.
But, but I mean, because once Kirk got hurt, that team was playing well. Once he got hurt, it's not an excuse, but go out and get Josh Dobbs, who O'Connell worked with, and it was okay. But it was a bit of a lost cause and a bit of a run there. So, the history to me, what O'Connell is he 37 and 17, I think, or 34 and 17 in the regular season. So, any expectation that like McCarthy is going to just be a complete bomb because coach blows it, I think is a bit of a stretch.
Did you see? So the Eagles had their like Super Bowl winner celebration there.
And did the team come out for it?
I don't think the team did not come out for it.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni said we're not coming out.
Okay, in some ways, I get like, all right, we're on to the next season.
It's us against them.
Dude, allow for like 10 minutes of once in our lives. We're not guaranteed to ever win this.
Yeah.
Once in our lives, let's watch the come down and take a deep breath. Football people, there is no joy after the champagne has been consumed the day after the Super Bowl. You can't.
These coaches love the mind games. I guarantee you, he's telling his team, everybody wants to celebrate us. We haven't done bully.
Acted like he didn't know that there was going to be a ceremony to the meet.
Yeah,
so
he is. But I'll tell you what, man. These guys get paranoid. It is incredible. Like sensible people start to get like that, and it is. I can't remember the last football coach. Maybe Les Frazier, God bless him, because he's the greatest guy of all time, who didn't just get goofy.
Yeah, he was kind of just a normal human being, and maybe that was part of the reason why he sort of failed as a head coach and never got. You almost need someone who's a little psychotic.
That's exactly
to lead a room of 53 guys.
Exactly.
So, well, gentlemen, this football game is about to kick off here from Running Aces, the football game, and so we're gonna run this perfectly unplugged, and we're gonna.
Game on here,
we got Georgia Tech and Colorado.
I didn't even know Deion was playing.
Is that live right now?
Oh, and Twins White Sox off for another hour. That's.
Oh, they're going to start?
Oh, that's too bad.
How many are going to be in that stadium?
We have more people in here right now than Target Field.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do. And all sensible. Anyone that goes to the Twins game tonight has lost all common sense.
And some Running Aces swag to give away. We have 4 bags. I don't know how we want to do this.
I mean, if you simply, if you are interested in some Running Aces swag, us after the show here, and we got some Running Aces swag. So thank you all for hanging out at Run Aces tonight. RunAces.com for the unplugged YouTube audience. For our crew over here too, Tim and Ross Brendel. Yeah, Judd Zulgad, the sports dad, Phil Mackey, Declan Goff here.
May we never be on a TV
Daily,
this big again.
Where
I'm staring myself.
We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Thank you all.